O'Neill Outside Radio is brought to you by these fine sponsors. The Whitetail Institute of North America, the gold standard for food plots. Real Tree, camo hunting, fishing, and land management products. Tough Shed, great storage sheds and custom buildings. Works, power and garden tools. Fisher's Choice, the ideal solution to live bait. CVA, quality muzzleloader since 1971. QDMA, Quality Deer Management Association. Arctic Ice, the most durable, versatile, and effective cooler packs available. And Furminator, the finest food plot implement on the market.
Good morning, boys and girls, from Black Powder headquarters at Three Falls Cabin in the North Georgia Mountains. CVA presents Real Tree Radio. Welcome to a brand new, unused Saturday morning.
Good morning. O'Neill is out of town this weekend doing a hunt. Scott Maxim sitting in for you today on O'Neill Outside. We are being brought to you live via 95.5 WSB Atlanta's News and Talk, WEEI Boston way up north, the flagship station of the Red Sox, and coast to coast on SB Nation Radio. Good morning. We got a big day of outdoor talk ahead of us. We got a radio prize package for you, the O'Neill Outside mailbag where we answer your questions. We got a Medal of Honor recipient. We changed it up a little bit this week. We're going to end the show with that. Got a nice, the Ram Fishing Report and your calls. Today's program is brought to you by Works Tools, Real Tree Camo, Stripling's General Store, Tough Shed, CVA Muzzle Loaders, Snellville Heating and Air, Appalachian Gun and Range, Thiessen's Online Apparel, and as of this week, a brand new sponsor, Rocco's Pub. It's Jasper's home of the best steak salad and jalapeno poppers. So, big stuff to talk about today. We've got some news for you on how to combat being scented by a deer and thus busted, ruining your hunt. We've got some information for you regarding tree stand safety, what you need to know as we head into this new deer season, and a little bit of news around the nation about an odd buck that wasn't a buck. A guy bagged out in Oklahoma. If you got a call, if you got a question, give us a call. The numbers are 404-872-0750, 800-972-8255. And why don't I just start off the show real quick and let you know what's going on with this announcement I got. I got about a minute to tell you here. We have a tree stand safety advisory here for y'all as we're heading into the new season, and this seems to be a problem with accidents out in the field with hunters, and we will cover some tips for how to combat any issues you may have with that tree stand. First and foremost, though, again, give us a call, 404-872-0750. That's the number to give us a call here in Atlanta via WSB. Don't go anywhere. We got 2 hours of outdoor talk coming up in just a bit. So stick around, y'all. We're going to have us some fun. Good morning. Welcome back to O'Neill Outside. Scott Maxim filling in for O'Neill today, and I am taking your calls. 404-872-0750, 800-972-8255. If you have a question or a comment, or you just want to tell us what you're doing today. You going fishing? You going hunting? Let us know, and let us know if you're taking a kid with you, too, because that's always a good thing. Right now, though, let's dive into the mailbag, and these are questions submitted by our listeners via the O'Neill Outside website. Go to o'neilloutside.com. Scroll down the page. You'll see a big old section that says Sign the O'Neill Outside Guest Book. When you do that, you submit your question there, and you could win a $50 gift card or $50 worth of swag from our sponsors if you are chosen as our winner of the week. Just look for the big red Enter Now button in the guest book section. Click it and send us your question. Today I got a few here. We'll start with Marvin from Bone Gap, Illinois, and yes, that is a real place. I checked on the map. It does exist. And Marvin asks, what's the best way to introduce a youngster to the outdoors? Hunting or fishing? I would say this. Generally speaking, I would opt for the fishing option, and here's why. Fishing is a lot easier for a youngster, okay? If you take them out deer hunting, You have to be very quiet. You have to not move around. You are expecting a child to be perfectly still for hours on end and silent as well. Fishing, not so much. You can hang out on the side of a bank or on a dock or in a boat, and you can chat with each other and you can look at other things. And if the child gets bored, you can kind of wander off the shoreline there and see what's going on and hang out a little bit. So I would say that would probably be the better way to introduce a child to the outdoors. All right, moving on. Question number 2 comes from Frankie in Mineral, Virginia. And Frankie says, I have diligently taught my grandchildren what guns can do, respect for the firearm, and most importantly, gun safety. What is the best gun for a 14-year-old girl so she doesn't immediately get put off with bad kick? He says, I'll introduce her to more powerful guns later. Well, my answer to this, the 22. I love 22s, whether they're rifles, whether they're pistols. It's a great cartridge and weapons platform to introduce children to. One, because there's absolutely zero recoil to worry about. A very light kick and shell. 2, the ammo's dirt cheap. You can go out and buy a box of 522 rounds for, I don't know, $20, $15, something like this, and pop caps all day long and get in a lot of great practice. In addition, I would say this, if you're talking about gun safety and so on, it's really easy to demonstrate with a gun that a kid feels safe using. Let's put it that way. No big scary bangs or recoil to scare them and thus perhaps put off a little bit of a safety lesson. So, Frankie, I would say this, the 22 is your best friend. Grab one, grab two, and have fun all day long. Let's move it on now. We've got Marvin here from Watermill, New York. And Marvin's question is, I want to teach my granddaughter how to hunt. During her lessons, after the gun safety course, I plan to give her shooting tips. Do you recommend starting out with or without a scope? Shouldn't I teach her to use her iron sights first? What's your opinion? Yes, iron sights are the first option. Always start with the iron sights for a couple reasons. One, you teach proper shooting technique. When you teach a child how to get a proper sight picture with iron sights, that translates over to the next rifle, the next handgun, or so on. You always have that at hand, that experience that translates to the next weapon. Secondly, using iron sights reduces reliance on technology. In other words, if you're out in the woods and you only know how to use iron sights and something happens, it breaks, the lens cracks, or something goes wrong with it, you drop it, you're out of luck if you don't know how to sight up on your gun. So I would say go with iron sights. It's always your best bet because 9 out of 10 guns are going to have sights on them. The only time you're not going to see it, hunting rifles, which are built to take the scope. So iron sights are the way to go, my friend Marvin. Use them. Learn it, live it, love it. Moving on, we've got Sean, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, the name of the place, Loxahatchee, Florida. Do you carry a backup sidearm while primitive hunting? Since it takes a little bit to reload a muzzleloader, I feel better carrying one with me just in case of emergencies. We have hogs on our land lease, and I don't want to take a chance with them. What are your thoughts? I would say that is a very, very good idea, especially if you're dealing with hogs. They are big, they are mean, and they are extremely dangerous. If you get gored with one of those tusks, you are looking at a serious wound that's going to involve tons of stitches. And I've seen a dog get hit by one of these things one time in the haunches. And while the dog did survive, it wasn't a pretty picture. So I would say this, a larger caliber handgun is the way to go. 45s, 44s, even if you want to go up to a 500 if you're feeling it, that's not a bad way to go. Semi-autos are not a bad thing, but in the woods they could turn out to be a little less reliable. You want to go with a revolver as your best option in the field, okay? So that makes the most sense as far as firearms go. Do you want to carry it? Absolutely. You never know when something's going to happen, and you may not have the ability to get that second round into that muzzleloader, certainly not by the time that hog is on you. So good call. Make sure you have that sidearm if you are so inclined. Moving on, we've got Bill from Killeen, Texas, asks, what's the difference between lure and bait? And is there a difference? Well, yes and no. It comes down to a question of what you're actually doing. Now let me explain. The goal of lures and baits is to put a fish, a deer, a hog, or whatever you're hunting into a place that's convenient for you to harvest that animal. Okay? So, what do? When we use bait, that is going to be a food item. It's going to appeal to the need to, for hunger to be taken care of by the animal. So, what we're using with baits, we're using food. If you're fishing, it could be worms, crickets, grubs, so on like that. If you're talking hunting, you could be, say, a food plot for deer. That will drive them to an area that's convenient for you to harvest the deer. So baits are typically driven by the animal's desire to take care of its hunger. Now, a lure, on the other hand, works on a slightly different concept. What it's doing is it's appealing to something that the animal desires that's perhaps something other than food. So, for example, you may have a mating instinct that you can appeal to with a scent lure, or you can use a turkey call to call in the toms. What you're doing is you're basically appealing to some other thing other than a food thing. Now, here's where it gets a little confusing, especially when you're talking about fishing, okay? When you're talking about fishing, you are actually appealing to the fish's desire to eat, whether you're using a lure or bait. Now, what's the difference there? Bait, again, is going to be organic. Your grubs, your worms, your crickets, your frogs, and so on, and on. But the lure, now that's the funny one, man. That's the rubber worm. That's the rubber frog. That's the spinner. That's the fly bait for fly fishing. All of these things are artificial, yet they're made to simulate something that fish wants to eat, and thus that fish is going to go after it. So it's a little confusing when it comes to the semantics of it, but always remember, welcome back to O'Neill Outside. Scott Maxim here, filling in for O'Neill this week. He's out getting a hunt on, and good for him. I think that's a great thing to start the weekend off with, and he's out there doing it. Time for the radio prize pack here, y'all, and we've got a good one for you. We have, up for grabs this week, a week at Appalachian Gun Range, a Bojangles gift card, a Whitetail Institute DVD, the Angler Magazine, Georgia DNR Regulations Magazine and hat, 1 can of Fisher's Choice baits, baits, you see, Thunder Chicken from Captain Mark Noble, I'm thinking that's a lure, and selection of True Turn tackle, Swaggerty's coupon for Swaggerty's Country's General Store, and all that can be yours if you can answer the following question. And these questions are for O'Neill Outside listeners, so you do have to listen to the program. Google is not your friend in this case, okay, y'all? So we are rewarding our listeners. And the question this week, we have a new sponsor. As of today, a pub right up here near the cabin. Can you name? If you can, you'll be the winner of the prize pack. The number, call in 404-872-0750, 800-972-8255. If you have the answer to that question, you will score all that awesome swag, and that is a beautiful thing. So, without further ado, let's get down to some business here, and let's talk a little tree stand safety. Now, this is one of the biggest problems for hunters every year as far as accidents are concerned, okay? More than half of all hunting accidents that occur are due to falls or other safety issues with tree stands. So yeah, it's no joke, y'all. You got to be careful on these things. Out of 33 incidents in Georgia in 2018, 20 were tree stand use related, and wow, that's better than half here in Georgia. So here's the deal, folks. A few tips here for you to make sure that getting up and down out of that tree stand is without a problem. You should always, hunters, wear a fall arrest system, a full body harness during ascent and descent from the stand, and follow the manufacturer's usage instructions. Be aware that single strap belts and chest harnesses are no longer recommended and should not be used. Updated time, huh? Time to go out and get you hooked up with a new one. Failure to use the FAS system could result in serious injury or death. Yeah. Consider your personal physical condition before going out. If you don't have the ability to recover or escape from the FAS, it's recommended that you hunt only from the ground. Hunters, always use a haul line to pull your gear and an unloaded firearm or bow up to and down from the stand. You don't want to carry it. You don't want it hooked on the back, obviously for reasons that you might slip and fall. Something could get hooked. Your hands should be on both sides of that stand as you're climbing up. It's like driving a car at 10 and 2. Keep everything where it needs to be. Don't let anything get in the way. Staying awake and alert is important. Okay, hunters, avoid taking medications that cause drowsiness prior to your hunt. Also, never use alcohol or drugs before or while hunting. File that under duh. All right, hunters, again, always inform someone where you're going, what time you're going to be there, and what time you're expected to return. That way, if you are not where you need to be when you say you're supposed to be there, then what that'll do is that'll alert your friends or whomever you told about this trip to go out and look for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, some tips for you. Safe tree stand tips right here on O'Neill Outside. Looking for some people to give us a call here, 404-872-0750, 800-972-8255. That'll put you in touch with me here on top of Sassafras Mountain. Okay, well, let's see. We've hit the mailbag. We've hit the deer stand. Why don't we talk about the deer itself? Now, I was thinking a little bit this weekend, how is it that we are so concerned when hunting deer about covering the scent? So I did a little research, and what I found out is that when it comes to deer and scent protection, my friends, you are up against a very, very formidable creature, okay? In the sense that its nose, its scent, how it senses its environment is the first line of defense for the whitetail. Now, when you talk about the nose itself, we're going to get into a little bit of that here. Let's do a comparison, shall we? Okay. Your average dog, bloodhound, for example, has 230 million olfactory cells or scent receptors in its nose. Okay. By comparison, there are over 300 million in the deer. That much more ability to scent you. You know what a bloodhound can do. That thing is getting smoked by the deer. Okay? And why is the deer so keen on scent? It determines a danger level. See, the deer's eyesight is good. Don't get me wrong. It's about as good as ours. It's a little bit, as far as color, it can't quite tell the number of colors that we can see. But it is as good as our eyesight at picking up movement. It will notice something that's moving and catch its attention. Plus, the eyesight of the deer extends to 270 degrees around its head. So it's got, if you see it just moving its head back and forth, the head's on a swivel because it's looking around. But that's not the determining factor of the danger. That just merely catches the attention of the deer. If it sees movement, it's going to look that way at the movement. But it's going to scent what it sees to determine whether or not it's danger. Again, going back to the deer's hearing now. The hearing is not the primary, it's not used primarily for defense or to detect danger. Again, like us, they hear about the same levels, slightly higher in the upper frequencies, but if they hear something and it catches their attention, they're going to turn towards that sound so that they can catch a scent and determine if it is in fact a source of danger. Okay? The deer's nose itself, physiologically speaking, is built to hunt, to gather scents. Okay. First of all, it has huge nostrils. Okay. This allows for massive amounts of intake for air to scent whatever is around it. That nose is also very long. Okay. You're talking about scent receptors running for about 7 inches up that animal's face, compared to your 1.5 inches. That'll tell you something about how much you can smell compared to that deer. The whiskers around the deer's snout, its nose and its mouth, are all pointed outward slightly, but conically towards the nose. Now, why would that be, you ask? Well, believe it or not, these little hairs actually help direct wind and breezes towards the nostrils, and also will occasionally assist with gathering scent molecules, so the deer is able to smell things a little better. And finally, that nose is good for about 400 to 500 yards of scent detection. That's right. Bucks have been noted to be able to smell does in estrus during the rut at over 450 yards away. So trust me when I tell you this, if you are bringing some scent into the field, that deer is going to know you are there long before you come even close to it. Hey, we are going to check the phones here right now. I want to say I think we've got a winner here. Yes, we have a winner here. This is... All right, let me see if I can get it called up here, y'all. Brad, are you there, Brad?
Yes, good morning. Scott.
Good morning. Welcome to O'Neill Outside. So you got a prize pack answer for us this morning, do you?
Yes, sir. Rocco's.
All right, well, I was going to say, let's remind everybody of the question. We have a new sponsor here on O'Neill Outside. It is a pub, and yes, you are correct, sir. It is Rocco's Pub. Have you ever been out there?
Yes, sir. I live in Jasper.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, have you, let me tell you what, man. Have you had the jalapeno poppers down there?
No, I haven't had those yet. My wife, I think my wife has, though.
Oh, man, you got to go try those. I'm telling you, that is one of the best appetizers I've ever gotten my hands on. They are really good. And believe it or not, even though they're jalapeno peppers, they're not going to light up your mouth. You got a little heat in there, but it's not too bad.
Well, I'll have to try those.
I would highly recommend it, sir. Cool. Do they have? Does Justin have all your information now as far as getting you hooked up with all the prizes?
Yes, he does.
Brad, well, that's awesome. And give us a couple of weeks. We'll get that out to you. And you can check the mailbox, and at some point you're going to be finding it full of swag. How does that sound?
Hey, I'll be looking forward to it. I've been trying to win for quite a while.
Well, that's awesome. You got any plans for getting outdoors today?
No, I'm not today. I'm probably waiting a little bit longer in the season before I go out, and I'm probably just going to watch some college football today.
Oh, yeah. We do have some big games this weekend, don't we?
Yeah, yep. So that's my plans for today.
Yeah, I know the Georgia teams are taking a week off, though, I think. If I'm not mistaken, Georgia and Georgia Tech are off this week.
Yeah, they're off. Georgia's off this week. They play Florida next week.
Cocktail party time, y'all.
Yep.
All right, Brad. Well, we appreciate you calling. Thanks much for listening to O'Neill Outside here on WSB. And, man, have fun, man. I hope to see you down at Rocco sometime.
All right. I hope to see you, too. Thank you. You have a good day.
Take it light now, man. All right. Now let's get back to the deer thing here real quick. Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. I don't have much time here before this break is up, before I have to go. So what I'll do is I'll put that on hold for a moment. We'll get back to talking about why that deer's nose is so keen on tracking you down. In the meantime, give us a call, 404-872-0750, 800-972-8255. Let us know what you're doing today. I know it's rainy here in Georgia, but if you're feeling it, maybe you're hitting the lake a little bit today just to see what you can scrap up out of the water. You're listening to O'Neill Outside on 95.5 News Talk WSB, WEEI Boston, and nationwide on SB Radio. Scott Maxim filling in for O'Neill this week, and we're going to be doing a little talking today about protecting yourself from being busted by giving off a scent to a deer. But in the meantime, I want to get back to that in a minute. I want to go to the phones right now and get a few of these guys here. Of course, our good friend Don is calling us from
Ocean Isle, North Carolina.
Absolutely. How you doing this week, Don?
Pretty good. The weather's done cooled down a little bit. The water temperature is getting down, and that makes the old kingfishing, they get very aggressive when the water starts cooling, so makes life good.
You don't have any rain in the forecast for you this weekend, do you?
I don't think so. I think they got the Gulf, that little disturbance going up through the middle of Alabama, and some of those places need rain bad, so not a whole lot of wind, just a whole lot of rain. So
Yeah, we're getting beat up a little bit down here in Atlanta. It's not really storming too bad or anything like that, but as you hear, we've been having problems with the wet causing some problems on the road. Again, y'all out there, be careful when you're driving. Back it down a little bit on the speed, okay? So what's on the agenda this week, Don?
Well, about 12, 15 years ago, we had one of the hurricanes brought in ringneck doves.
Huh.
Had about 40 of them come in here, and the ringneck dove is about twice the size of a regular dove. And they've stayed here for all that period of time, and they have interbred with the local doves. And now we have the local doves that are the same color as they've always been, but they're much, much larger.
Huh.
And still have a lot of the ringnecks around here, but they don't congregate in coveys like they did when they first came in. They're now in 1, 2, 3s, and 4s. So, and my question is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that dove came from Africa. But
well, you know what?
And there may be some in the United States. I don't know.
I could not tell you that for sure either, my friend. I mean, I could tell you where a Japanese carp came from. I can't tell you where that dove came from. I'd have to hit the internet for that one, my friend.
Yeah, we have to wake up Mondine. Maybe she could tell us all about the doves. But anyway, that's just one of the situations happens on the coast, and I guess it happens to the environment. You know, when everything changes as far as the bird population is concerned.
Yeah, sometimes it's like that. I mean, for example, when it comes to deer here in Georgia, we actually have we got 2 different species between Georgia and Alabama that I know of, and sometimes I believe along that border area we might be getting a little bit of crossbreeding of those 2 different species. Yeah. So, you know, it's all about the proximity. And if an animal ends up someplace and it has the proper environment, it can find food and, you know, in this case, a mate, then it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. Back when I was a kid, first gun I had was a J.C. Higgins single shot, 22. And then when I was about 10 years old, I had a 16 gauge J.C. Higgins bolt action shotgun.
Oh man, a bolt action shotgun. Those are pretty few. Yeah, those are few and far between.
Well, I had that when I was about I think I was 10 years old when I got that, and I never have seen one since, and never had seen one before. So
I've seen a bolt action at a gun show actually just recently. It was a Mossberg, really old Mossberg. I want to say it was, if I'm guessing, I think it said the 50s was the print on it. But maybe the 60s. But yeah, I was surprised. It was a bolt action, all right.
Yeah, it was like it loaded like a automatic, a pump action shotgun, but it had a bolt on it.
Wow, weird. Well, that's pretty cool. So,
yep.
What's the game plan today, Don? Just going to lay low?
We're just going to watch a little football today. I guess Georgia's taking their second week off this year. First week was when they played South Carolina, I think. So.
Yeah, but you know what? I got to say this much: that was a wake-up call for them.
Yeah, but you know they're a great football team, and they got a great bunch of kids down there, and it's fun to watch now. So.
Well, and I got much love for Kirby Smart, man. I love what he's done with that program, and I'll tell you what, you know, you can listen to all the Georgia Bulldogs football games right here on WSB. Yeah, just tune in and enjoy what Kirby's bringing you every week with that team.
Yep, I go back with WSB all the way to Bob Van Camp. That's a long way back, so.
That definitely precedes me, sir. All right, Don, I appreciate you giving us a call as usual, and have yourself a mighty fine week.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, take her light, sir. Let's get back to the phones here. We've got a call from New York. Looks like John's been waiting on the line here for a minute. John, what can we do for you this morning on O'Neill Outside?
Greetings from the Catskill Mountains, where the old saying goes, it can't snow till the creeks are full. That's why we're finally getting rain. It hasn't snowed yet. We don't want that just yet. But
No, you got a little bit of ways to go before that happens, but it won't be much longer.
Yep. Hey, I just read an article at Outdoor Life, 10 proven sniper shooting tips for the range, and number one was collecting data, which is fine.
Absolutely.
The next one, the guy had, he's a military sniper, and the next one was shoot dirty. He says snipers prefer to shoot dirty guns. In other words, we will not clean our rifles for 200 to 300 rounds. Leave that rifle dirty for the whole season. That kind of surprised me. What do you think about that?
You know, typically I do the same thing with my handguns. I won't run a rag through that thing until I've put about 250 through it. So I don't think that's much of a problem. I think if a sniper is saying that, I think you can take his word for it. I've never had a problem doing the same thing myself.
I know everybody used to be concerned about corrosive ammo.
Yes.
Maybe that's why they used to clean the rifles quite a bit. But modern day ammo, I guess we don't need to worry about that.
No, you really don't. The only time that corrosive ammo may come into play with you is if you're shooting a Russian rifle. For example, I have an old M44 Mosin Nagant, and it takes that 7.62 by 54 Russian. A lot of times, if I'm using some older surplus ammo, I'll have to see if it's got the corrosive primers on it, in which case you have to clean that barrel immediately after you use that gun. And most people, what I've done and what I've heard people do, other shooter friends of mine, is they'll just run a rag down there with some Windex, clean it out with that first, and then come in behind it with whatever you typically use to clean your barrels with, the hops or so on.
Okay.
So,
I got another thing, tree stand safety. You had your tips there and such. One thing I did this year, we have them up here on the mountain permanently, a lot of the tree stands. Now we're getting into ladder stands, which are for us older guys now. We're starting to get older. So, but some of the hang-on stands have nylon ratchet straps, and I replaced them this year. $20 is a lot cheaper than a $20,000 hospital bill if something should happen with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Also, it's funny just listening to Don just now talk about a bolt-action shotgun. Guess what we have up here at the old farmhouse?
No kidding. What brand?
Well, all it has on it, it says Ranger 101. I think it's an old Sears Roebuck. It was a guy to my father, and they're all gone, the World War II guys. They're all passed away, but he got it as a 1936 high school graduation present, and we call it the gobbler getter because everybody has to get their first turkey with it.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Yep, it's a single shot bolt action 20 gauge. We taped camel tape around it and stuff, but full choke, and we've all myself, my brother, his daughter, my son, we all gotten the first turkeys with it. Yep.
Hey, I have a quick internet search has yielded some answers. That is a Sears gun, in fact, the Ranger 101.
Yep, that's it. And so 1936 graduation present, that guy got it.
Wow.
Talking about here, national news this week, an Arkansas man down there got killed by a deer he shot. It woke up and gored him, I guess.
It's a distinct possibility.
I've heard stories up here of people. I knew a guy that he went up to his deer and it did one last gasp and it raked him with his antler and ripped his pant leg. So you got to be really careful.
Yeah, I don't want to say double tap a deer. That's not really the way you want to go with it. But I would suggest this. Be sure the animal is actually down before you approach it close. Maybe poke it with a stick. It sounds a little ridiculous, but I don't see that being outside the realm of possibility of taking a strike from one of those antlers. That would not be fun.
Right. And another thing, just about 3-4 years ago, a guy comes up here hunting. He woke up opening day morning. He didn't feel good, and I know what everybody's going to think, that he overindulged the night before, but he didn't. And he says, "I think I'm going to go outside get some air." Guess what? He fainted. He's never fainted in his life before. So he said he just needed to lay back down. He lost 50 pounds during the year. Okay, so maybe that's why he fainted. But he went and laid back down, so I changed my plans. I figured I'd go hunt from his tree stand. I went and shot a 6-pointer that morning.
How's he feeling about that?
Well, nothing he could do. He was just laying on the couch there.
Well, I'm at least hoping you're going to hook the man up with some venison steaks.
Well, he hunts up here. That's what we do for him.
That's awesome. Hey, thanks for the call, John. Have yourself a great week, and give us a call again. Love hearing from you.
Sure thing. Take care.
You do the same. Bye-bye now. All right, I got another call here I want to knock out real quick. It is from David in Tucker. And David, you got a bear question?
Bear question and a little shotgun observation real quick.
Lay it on me. Lay on the shotgun thing. Let's keep it on the firearms for a second.
Okay. I was thinking earlier this week, I think I have seen a double-barreled bolt-action shotgun, and it would have probably been from the first half of the 20th century, because one bolt is, significantly ahead of the other. I don't know how it operates, but I'm almost certain I have seen photographs of that kind of contraption. It's a little weird looking.
Huh, you say a double-barreled
bolt action.
Huh.
So the
weird.
bolt actions are not, they are offset.
Ah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking this up right now on Google as we speak. And yes, interesting, very interesting. It's there is a double-action bolt, a double-barrel bolt. And I'm looking at it right now. It's a very interesting-looking gun. I see what you're saying about the offset barrels.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And it loads, at least the one I'm looking at here, too, loads from a magazine below on a side-by-side.
There you are.
Weird. Very weird.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. So you got one of these things.
No, I don't have one. What date does it put to its manufacturer?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, this one here, I'm not really seeing much in the way of a date here. Yeah, I couldn't tell you for sure a date on that. It's got to be fairly primitive, though, because I don't see that design being made in anything modern.
Right. I don't think I've actually physically seen one. I think I've just seen a photograph of it years ago.
Yeah.
On the little bear thing, all mammals are supposed to be susceptible to rabies, but I have never heard of an account of a rabid bear.
Well, here's the thing, and I've only got a few seconds before I go, so I'll cut this to the chase real quick. Bears can get rabies. They can. All mammals are subject to getting rabies. However, it's just very rare, like you said, for a bear to get rabies. I guess something has to bite the thing, and I don't know of too many things that want to bite a bear.
I always just think they would pick it up eating dead rabbit animals.
It's possible, but again, it just doesn't seem like it's that much of a thing. At least what I see here online tells me it's a rare occurrence. So there you go, David. Hey, I gotta go, buddy. I'm up against the hard break, but thanks for listening. You're listening to O'Neill Outside on News 95.5 WSB, WEEI Boston, and nationwide on SB Radio Network. Welcome back to O'Neill Outside, and this week we're talking about how to protect yourself from being busted from scent by a deer, why the deer is so good at picking up your scent, and lots of your phone calls. The number 404-872-0750, 800-972-8255. Punch either of those numbers into your phone. That'll put you in touch with me here on top of Sassafras Mountain. Let's see if we can knock out a quick call here. I think we got about 2 minutes to work with. Let's go to Mark in Camden County. Looks like you're going to get into a little deer hunting today, Mark.
Oh, yeah, that's all I do this time of year other than what I have to do.
Do what you got to do until you can do what you want to do, huh?
Yep. You're talking about approaching a deer that's down a little while ago.
Yes, sir.
One tip to always remember: if the deer's eyes is closed, he's alive.
Oh, for real? So if the eyes are open, it's deceased then?
No guarantee of that either. But if his eyes are closed, it's guaranteed he's alive. And but one of my old habits, and I've been deer hunting about 50 years now, is even when a deer is laying there with his eyes open, just when you walk up, just prod it in the eyes with the tip of your gun barrel, even is fine. And if it doesn't twitch when you poke it in the eye, it's dead.
Oh, right on. Well, there you go. That's a very good tip for us out there, Mark. So you hitting the woods today or what?
Yeah, I'm on my way to Jeff Davis County to go sit around the farm all day. The rut's kicking in this weekend, and next weekend is the rut in the area that I'm in. So,
oh, right on. Right on. And I'm assuming you're going to have some wet weather today. What are you doing to deal with that?
Probably not going to get here until later this afternoon. The morning should be good with that frontal boundary approaching and everything, I expect this morning should be pretty good.
And you got pretty decent weather out there, too. It's in the 60s right now.
Yeah, it's really nice here now. I think, according to my truck thermometer here, it's 58 degrees right here right now.
Well, awesome,
But,
Mark. Hey, buddy, I got a boogie, but I want to thank you for giving us a call. Good luck out in the field today, man. I hope you bag a big one.
Have a good day. Doing a good job backing up the master there.
Yeah, I can only back him up. I can never go up and, stand in front of the man. That's never going to happen.
Never no replacement for the original.
No, sir. Thanks a lot, Mark. We'll talk to you later. You're listening to O'Neill Outside on 95.5 News Talk WSB, WEEI Boston, and SB Nation Radio, coast to coast.
O'Neill Outside Radio is brought to you by these fine sponsors. The Whitetail Institute of North America, the gold standard for food plots. Realtree, camo hunting, fishing, and land management products. Tough Shed, great storage sheds and custom buildings. Works, power and garden tools. Fisher's Choice, the ideal solution to live bait. CVA, quality muzzleloader since 1971. QDMA, Quality Deer Management Association. Arctic Ice, the most durable, versatile, and effective cooler packs available. And Furminator, the finest food plot implement on the market.
Good morning, boys and girls, from Black Powder headquarters at Three Falls Cabin in the North Georgia Mountains. CVA presents Real Tree Radio. Welcome to a brand new, unused Saturday morning.
O'Neill is out hunting this week. He's in the field. Scott Maxim filling in right here, right now for him here on O'Neill Outside. Taking your calls, 404-872-0750. 800-972-8255. And I just want to let you know, you are currently listening to us on 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk, WEEI up in Boston, the flagship station of the Sox, and coast to coast on SB Nation Radio. And we're continuing here with our discussion today about what makes deer so good at picking up scents. We're going to talk a little bit in a bit about what you can do to help beat that deer. And trust me when I tell you, it's not easy. Also want to let you know that this program is brought to you by Works Tools, Realtree Camo, Stripling's General Store, Tough Shed, CVA Muzzleloaders, Snellville Heating and Air, Appalachian Gun and Range, Thiesen's Online Apparel, and as of this week, our newest sponsor, Rocco's Pub. We want to thank them for their support and keeping us on the air. And let's see what we got here. I've got about a minute, so I guess I'll get back to the deer thing for a second before we go to break. Real quickly, the sense of smell of the white-tailed deer is its primary defense. Scents determine danger for the deer, not sight, not sounds. The deer's nose, let's just be honest, it's a vacuum for scents. And moving on, you see a deer out in the field licking its nose. Do you know why it's doing that? It doesn't dig the taste, y'all, because let's just be honest, it can't really taste that good. What it's doing is it's actually moistening its nose so it could be more sensitive to scent molecules. Really? Absolutely. It makes it a little bit stickier. It makes them come on there and a lot easier for the deer to hold on to that scent. And along those lines, too, they also, scents carry a lot better when there's a decent amount of humidity in the air, so that's also going to help the deer out. If you have a call, if you have a comment, if you have a question, if you want to tell us what you're doing today, here's your numbers, 404-872-0750 or 800-972-8255. You punch those digits in that order, you'll get me, Scott Maxim, filling in for O'Neill this week on O'Neill Outside. 2 hours of outdoor radio, one down, one to go, right now. O'Neill Outside. Let's go to the phones right now. I've got a guy that's been waiting here for a while. Well, I'm sorry, he dropped off. Let's go to Mac. He's got a Lake Lanier report for us this morning. How you doing, Mac?
I'm good, brother. How you doing?
Staying highly caffeinated and very motivated, sir.
Yeah, you need to transfer some of that over here. I need to get some of that caffeine, I guess. Get jacked up here.
Oh, hey man, it's called Pepsi Zero Sugar. It's got that black label on it. It's a liquid stimulant, dude, and it tastes like cola.
Just you saying that woke me up a little bit.
So what's going on, man? How's that lake looking? I'm guessing I'm guessing on this, but the weather's been shifting a little bit lately between cold and hot, and I'm guessing that's got the fish kind of messed up.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We're transitioning, we're making that transition out of summer into fall. Mm-hmm. And now even fall into winter, and the lake's turning over, so we get a lot of changing conditions. And the fish are catchable, but the techniques change constantly. Right. And there's you'll catch them one day with one technique, and the next day you'll catch them doing something completely different. You'll go from shallow to deep, or vice versa. So versatility is key. And it always is. October and early November, that's always the case, and we're very much in that situation now. And there's fish being caught, and that's the advice I would give somebody today. If you're going striper fishing, be ready to do a little bit of everything. You got to be free lines, down lines. Look for the schooling fish, trolling, catching fish trolling. If the wind picks up like it did yesterday, that really influences what we do. So you got to be ready to counteract all those things. If you have that mindset, though, and you work hard, you can go out and catch some fish. It's not bad. It's just be ready to change tactics at the drop of a hat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Mother Nature kind of is dictating that right now, and quite honestly, she doesn't know what the heck is going on.
She's confused, bless her heart. So
yeah, I mean, I feel like I went straight from summer into like 2 or 3 days of autumn, and now I'm into winter.
Yeah, summer wouldn't let go this year, so that just kept on, and now. Finally, we're going there. And now we've got a lot of rain in the forecast. And the wind's been an issue some days. Yesterday, the wind really dictated what I did and where I went. And we've got a lot of schooling fish. That's been relatively consistent, but they're really difficult to see in the wind. So you might have to counteract that. I was looking at that just a minute ago. We're going to have winds, that east wind again, 8, 10, 12 miles an hour, which out on the main lake makes those fish really hard to see, and it makes it hard to present a live bait. So for guys going today, factor that in as well.
And how's the rain affect the fish?
I'm doing better on the days when we have cloud cover and rain as opposed to the real bright, high bluebird skies that we've got in a couple of days this week. So I wouldn't worry about that. And looking at the weather, we're going to get some rain probably some course during the day, but I think we'll have a lot more dry hours than rainy hours, so it's good. Put on your rain suit and get out there. I think it'll enhance the bite, actually.
Oh, that sounds pretty good.
So, yeah, I think it's a good day to fish. I think the wind is the big variable. If the wind doesn't kick up like it did yesterday, I think today will be good. If the wind blows, it'll make it a little tougher on you. So
I'm assuming you're hitting the lake today yourself.
I am.
Oh, you guiding anybody today, or is this just a little thing for you?
No, we're going to put the rain, get the crew of the boat and put the rain suits on and get after it.
Outstanding. And let's say somebody wants to hook up with you for a Lake Lanier tour. What do they need to do, my friend?
They can call us at 770-271-0851, or you can find us online at Captain Max, CAPTMACKS.com.
Outstanding. Well, go on out there and whack a few, man.
I'm going to give them the best shot, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks for calling. Always a pleasure to talk to you, sir.
Have a good one, my friend.
You do the same. All right, y'all. Let's get back to the discussion about that nose and what it knows on that deer. And quick review as we go along here. The sense of smell is the primary defense. Yes. Sense determined danger. Yes. The deer's nose is built for scent detection. Think of it as a Hoover. Yes. Deer lick their noses to actually enhance scent capturing capability. Yes. Now, moving on. What does that deer do with all that information? Well, it gets run up to its brain, and the most highly developed part of the deer's brain is the area that deals with scent discrimination. So it's devoting the most of its brain power to figuring out what the heck it is smelling on the air. Another thing, not much gets in the way of a deer's sense of smell. A deer can easily detect food sources located under 1.5 foot of snow. And as a matter of fact, there's only a couple things that'll kind of mess with it, like an icy crust on the ground will prevent it from being able to find food, that kind of thing. It'll block it out. Also, younger deer don't have as good a set of smell, so they tend to miss things in those same conditions a lot easier. And the only other thing would be, to affect it, would be an environmental condition with very, very, very low humidity and moisture in the air, okay? For deer, scents fall into 3 categories. The first category, edible. In other words, what's the source of my next meal? Oh, that smells pretty good over there. I think I'll go check that out. That's the first thing. Secondly, the neutral scent. And what might the neutral scent be? Everyday smells. What does this deer smell in the forest? Trees, dirt, bark, leaves, whatever. Think of it more or less as background music, if you will. If you're sitting there reading or something, got a little classical in the background, kind of the same thing for deer. And finally, the third category I call Danger, Will Robinson. These are the scents that fall outside of edible and neutral. So, what are they? Unknown scents that represent a threat to the animal. The scent, once it's picked up, is confirmed by sight and sound, and then the animal will choose to either flee or ignore the unknown scent, source of it, I mean. Another thing, deer identify one another with a scent like a dog. So there's a common myth out there that fawns, for example, don't have a scent. Well, that's not true. The fawns do have a scent, and that's how does determine whether the fawn is theirs. They will not nurse a fawn belonging to another deer, or another doe, I'm sorry. So what they do is they sniff that little fawn, and if they say, hey, that's you, then food's on. And, excuse me, here's the last thing, and I think we covered this earlier. A deer will know you are in the woods long before you ever see it. With the ability to scent a possible threat at over 400 yards, between 400 and 500 yards, it's got a massive advantage over the hunter when it comes to detecting his presence. So, obviously the next question, what can we do to help ourselves combat this super sense that these deer have? Well, first thing, hunters, go get you a bath with some scent-reducing soap. Now, this stuff can be found online all over the place by numerous manufacturers. Hit Amazon. It comes up with a quick search. But, excuse me, basically it's just a special soap that is, first of all, not scented, and second of all, helps knock down your scent. Secondly, wash your clothes that you're going to hunt in before every hunt. Don't reuse them. You've got sweat in there. You've got your body odor built into it. It gets absorbed by the fabric. All you're doing is setting yourself up for failure if you don't take care of this before you hit the woods. Okay? Third step, and here's something to think about. I call it marinating your clothing. Now, basically what you do is this. You take your hunting gear, your clothing, and actually even your backpacks or whatever you're going to carry, seal them up in an airtight container with some leaves, some pine straw, bits of bark, cedar chips, so on. Let the clothing absorb these natural scents over a few days before you go out on the hunt. What that'll do, that'll add a little bit of cover to you and help disguise what you're doing. Now, secondly, once you've cleaned your hunting gear and washed it, store it exactly the same way again after you're done. It will definitely help. It will help cover your scent. Here's another one, and I didn't realize this until I just did a little bit of poking around on the subject. Try wearing rubber boots if you have some. And you say, well, why would rubber boots be the way to go? Well, think about this. What do you put on leather boots? You put polishes on there. You put water sealants on there. You put whatever you need to keep that leather in good condition. What does that do? Kicks off a scent. Now, don't call me crazy, but even I can smell a can of kiwi when you pop it open from across the room. That deer is going to smell that stuff from a freaking quarter-mile away. So, no, don't mess with that. Nylon and other synthetic materials, here's the problem with that. They don't really do a very good job of shielding the scent of your feet. Welcome back to O'Neill Outside. Scott Maxim filling in for O'Neill this week and taking your calls. 404-872-0750. That's if you're in the Atlanta metro area. 800-972-8255. That's outside that area. Give us a call. Be happy to talk to you. Tell us what you're doing today. You going fishing? You going hunting? You taking a kid out in the woods? You should. Let us know if that's your game plan today. Okay, y'all, let's get back to scent-proofing yourself, or at least helping to scent-proof yourself if you're heading out to go bag a buck. All right. In addition to scent-proofing yourself, in addition to scent-proofing what you wear, you should try to scent-proof your gear. Oh, think about this now. If you're taking a backpack out in the woods, it needs to be treated the same way as your clothing. In other words, store it the same way, wash it the same way every time, just like your hunting gear. Because, again, it could pick up your sweat, your odor, and lock it in there. You don't want to bring that out back to the field unless you wash it. Here's another one that's kind of odd. Use oils and cleaners on your gun that are unscented, because nothing stinks more than gun cleaner. That's just reality. There are numerous oils, cleaners, and so on that can be used on your weapon that don't leave a smell. In some cases, they're actually better at lubricating the weapon than a traditional scented lube. So keep that in mind. That's not a bad way to go. Keep the gun working, but also keep it from getting you busted. Here's an interesting concept. Brush your teeth with baking soda toothpaste. Baking soda toothpaste. Why? Again, the baking soda in the toothpaste helps knock down the odors coming out of your mouth. Your breath. Your breath, believe it or not, is one of the biggest giveaways when you're out hunting deer. They can smell anything that you've had on your breath, coffee, whatever, and it will get you busted if you are not careful about that, okay? Along those lines, don't stop at Waffle House for breakfast. Yeah, it's great and everything like that, but if you're going out in the woods and you stop at Waffle House, you're going to smell like a Waffle House. And all that's going to do is when the deer scents you, it's going to put it in its mind that it does not want to be around there, and it's going to go to Waffle House and just leave you sitting in the woods. Don't go get something to eat before you go out in the field. Okay? Or at least if you do that, do it before you get ready to go out, and then brush your teeth and everything will be gold, okay? Snacks in the field, same story there. Look for snacks that have a natural scent to them, like nuts, raisins, Oatly granola bars, that kind of thing. Anything that smells like something the deer would be used to smelling in the woods, or that the deer would consider a food source, like an apple. They can smell the sweetness of an apple from quite a distance. So don't be bringing out an Egg McMuffin or fried chicken picnics or anything like that, because those scents will just chase the deer off real quick. Drinks, same story. Go with stuff that doesn't throw out a lot of odors. Water is obviously the best thing. You bring hot chocolate or coffee out in the field, and you might as well just forget about it. That deer's going to say, I don't want nothing to do with that. It smells weird. Here we go again. Monitor the wind direction. Now, that's pretty obvious, and that's what pretty much every deer hunter does. But that's the biggest thing to help keep yourself from getting nailed when you're out there hunting that buck. Bug repellents. It's a little cold right now, but you might be in a part of the country that still is dealing with some insects, okay? If that's the case, there are spray options that are unscented. They will take care of business and not light you up to the deer, okay? In addition, if you don't want to do a spray on, there are proximity bug repellent items, like a Thermacell. It's a small device that hooks on your belt, and I believe it's battery powered, and it has a little insert in it that kicks out bug repellent all around you, and it works really well. But it doesn't have a scent that'll get you busted. So there you go if you have to deal with the bugs. Here's a really interesting one, and it's actually obvious, but I don't know if too many people think about this. Get your gas the night before you're going out. If you're going to hit the gas station, then brother, be tracking all stuff that's on the ground, gas, oil, different whatever's on the ground, windshield wiper fluid, whatever. That deer is going to smell the mobile station and head the other direction, okay? And finally, one of the things you can do is use a cover, a concealing scent, something you could either spray on your clothes or hang in a tree, something that will help block whatever odors you're kicking off. So there you go, a few tips for you out there to help hide your scent, and the reasons for it that nose has been made by Mother Nature to find hunters or anything that's going to do it wrong. So there you go, folks. 404-872-0750. That's the number. You need to give us a call. And 800-972-8255. That's outside the Atlanta calling area. Give us a call and let us know what you got going on today, okay? Oh, we got a special caller on line 1. I've gotten word. Wade from Bowling Green is calling. You've been holding for a while too, Wade, and we really appreciate that. What's on your mind today? Oh, no, it's not Wade. It's O'Neill.
Here's O'Neill.
Ha! I got fooled by the software. It said Wade, and then as soon as I hit play, it pops up O'Neill. How you doing, my friend? And
good. I'm just
right off the bat.
Got a deer hunt going on down here in South Georgia, so I thought I'd give you a call. We just got up, and time to go to the woods.
Well, thank you for giving us a call. And by the way, thank you for letting me sit in with you this morning.
Well, you bet.
How we doing?
Yeah, lovely. We've got the deer located, and we've been seeing a lot of deer. We're just waiting for the. I have a guest in from Panama City Beach. Her name is Tanya Higgins, and she's part of QDMA, the Quality Deer Management Association. So we've got her here, and she's going to go back out this morning, and she's got one located, and we'll try to put that into a show.
Outstanding.
You bet.
So how does it feel to be on the other side of that? I'm sorry, what?
She's quite the deer hunter.
Oh, that's excellent. So I got a question for you.
Go.
How does it feel to be on the other side of that phone there?
Relaxing.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Yeah, relaxing. I can stop talking and hang up when I want to.
Well, that's a little added bonus of being able to take a day out in the woods there, boss man.
Yeah, you bet. You getting any calls this morning?
Oh, we're doing great. We've been getting calls from all over the place. I thought we had our friend Wade from Bowling Green there when you came in there on that line.
Uh-huh.
But, yeah, we've heard from our usual suspects. Matt called in, let us know what was going on with Lanier, and Don from Ocean Isle called in, and a couple other folks, too, man. We've been having a good old time this morning.
Good. I'm glad to hear.
Yeah, right on. And I've got an interesting little story here to talk about in a minute. Basically, what happens when you bag the buck of a lifetime that turns out not to be the buck of a lifetime?
Well, it doesn't change him. He's still what he is, whatever. But how do you mean? Tell me about that.
I'm sorry?
And say, what do you mean? You think he's a buck of a lifetime, then he's not. How do you mean that?
Well, here's the thing. Now, I came across a story of a hunter out in Oklahoma earlier this month, a couple of weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
And he bags himself what he thinks is a buck, but then he finds out he harvested a doe with antlers.
Oh, I've never done that. I've heard about that.
It is an extremely, extremely rare occurrence to bag a doe with antlers. And there's numerous reasons why that could happen, but generally it falls around hormonal imbalances and birth defects. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and find out just exactly what is up with a buck that isn't a buck.
Well, it's certainly not the buck of a lifetime, but it certainly is the doe of a lifetime.
It is absolutely. And along those lines, antlered does, I think, according to this article, I believe it was 1 in 10,000 does are antlered.
I have all of my time in the woods. I don't think I've ever seen that.
I'll tell you what, and that's the thing. And this guy's just all kinds of floating over the moon on that thing as a result. Let me tell you what.
I'll bet.
Yeah, it's even more rare than the piebalds, too.
Oh yeah, I've never done that either. I have seen what I thought was a piebald, but maybe just for a couple of minutes, fleetingly.
Right.
White spot or two, but not an authentic piebald. I don't think I've ever seen that.
And for listeners that don't know, a piebald deer is a deer with atypical markings. There's going to be a lot of white on that animal versus brown. It is in mottled patterns all over the animal, and quite often they have a white face and sometimes even a pink nose, but it is not as a result of albinism.
most people will shoot that deer immediately. I mean,
Absolutely.
Most hunters will take that deer right away.
Well, one, because it's actually pretty interesting as far as trophies go. I actually saw a full piebald on display at a store up in North Carolina, and it was just a gorgeous-looking deer, simply because it was so different looking.
Yeah, boy. Well, are you getting some fishing calls? Fishing should be improving.
Well, we did get Max saying that the rain should help out a little bit with that today, and he's hitting the lake. But it looks like most of the rain's going to come a little bit later on. So early morning hours look pretty good if you want to hit the lakes here today.
Oh, good. Yeah, we got a weather change. It's time to go to the pond.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, O'Neill, looks like I'm coming up on a break, brother, and I already made Karen mad at me earlier, so I do not want to face her wrath again, sir.
No, don't do that. Just put me on hold.
All right, that's not a problem. We'll put you on hold, and have yourself a great day out there, and good luck to you, my friend.
You bet. Thanks, pal. Put me on hold. I want to listen.
All right, you're on. And there you go. So we will be getting back, and I will tell you about this deer of a lifetime that this guy bagged out in Oklahoma in just a bit. You're listening to O'Neill Outside. Come on back. To O'Neill Outside. And Scott Maxim here, filling in for O'Neill this morning. Taking your calls, 404-872-0750. 800-972-8255. Give me a call. Let me know what you got going on today. So, as I mentioned to O'Neill just a minute ago, I found a story of an interesting deer that a hunter named Chris Blades out in Oklahoma bagged 2 weeks ago. He harvested what he initially suspected to be an extremely non-typical buck. Okay, so obviously something's up. What happened is that it was determined that the buck he thought he harvested was actually an antlered doe. Now, biologists say that this is an occurrence that happens about 1 in every 10,000, and for this reason now, hunters, you might be thinking, oh no, I just bagged a doe, it's not doe season, oh no. Don't worry about it. They got you covered. What happens is if it's antlered, they're going to assume that you are going to assume that it's a male. So they referred to it as an antlered deer during the season. So you're okay. Relax. You don't have to worry about running and hiding. You didn't violate the law. Nothing's going to happen. So while it's a rare occurrence, what we find out here is that generally 1 or 2 of these animals are harvested every year. And I'm looking at a photo here of the gentleman with this doe that he bagged, and there is a big rack on the head of this animal, and it's covered with all kinds of velvet. So, yeah, a little atypical, definitely. So, how is this possible? What would cause this to happen? Well, there are 3 basic ways that you wind up with an antlered doe. The first, the doe is actually a hermaphrodite, okay? It's a true hermaphrodite, meaning that the animal has both male and female internal sex organs, ovaries, and testes. There are many combinations concerning the makeup of the organs and the locations of the body, but outwardly, they have either male or female external reproductive organs on display. You just really don't know. And you may know if you happen to notice that they have both male and female external organs. So that'll come into play. You have these other ones here now, case 2, pseudo-hermaphrodites. These animals are otherwise known as cryptorchid males. I know, weird word. Basically, the condition means that the reproductive organs are anatomically incorrect. So with this disorder, the deer possesses the internal reproductive organs of one sex, but external organs resembling the opposite sex. Okay? The extent of these characteristics in the deer can vary. Okay? Finally, the third category, the true antlered doe. Now, when you're talking about a true antlered doe, you're looking at an animal that has antlers that can be described as velvet-covered, pedicles only, small button antlers, small velvet-covered spikes with the occasional branching on them, hard polished antlers, okay, which you typically would see in bucks. But the size and characteristics of doe antlers differ depending on the condition of the animal's reproductive tract, okay? So as the antlers are more developed, what you're seeing is an example of severe reproductive problems the more you see. In other words, just the little buttons means, okay, it's got some problems, but the full rack means that this animal has got some issues. So that's the story there. In most cases, mature antlers are symptomatic of a hermaphrodite or pseudo-hermaphrodite, but occasionally you do wind up with that on the doe. So there you go, y'all. Another little bit of information there for you this morning on O'Neill Outside. And we're looking for your calls, 404-872-0750, 800-972-8255. And I'll be looking forward to hearing from you. Another thing to talk about this morning, and this just happened here in July, and pardon me while I call this up on my computer just for verification, but if any of y'all are planning a hunt in California, get used to a new concept, y'all. It is called lead-free ammo. In other words, if you're going hunting in California now, whether it's deer hunting, elk, whatever, you are no longer allowed to hunt anywhere in the entire state using lead-based ammo. Now, why is this? California, and initially it starts with them desiring to protect the California condor. I get it. It's a big animal. It's kind of rare. There's only a few hundred of them, if that many, still out there in the wild. We want to preserve these animals. I get it. I have no problem with that. Using lead-free ammo in areas where these animals roam makes a lot of sense. When you kill a deer or whatever you're hunting, you're going to have that bullet shattering on impact inside the animal. It's going to produce all kinds of little shards. And lead is a soft metal that breaks apart easily, so it causes a lot of little shards to wind up in the internal organs and tissues of the animal. When you gut it and leave the gut pile on the ground, the condors, of course, are going to come in and clean up behind it and eat the lead, and it's been found to harm the animal. Okay, that makes sense, but unfortunately, unlike most other states that have restrictions on ammo, California went statewide with this thing versus just regionally to protect certain animal species. And what that has done is basically created a bit of a, let's just say, an added expense for hunters and a little bit of a problem for those who are in the hunting industry in California. Experts have said that they could lose these suppliers and so on, these hunting outfits, they could lose about 30% of their business as a result of this ammo changeover. And why is that? Because there's extreme added expense when you're talking about this lead-free ammunition, okay? Compared to a typical round, it's about 2 times to 3 times the cost. Now, granted, when you're out in the field, you're only going to use maybe a couple bullets here and there on your animal that you're harvesting. But my concern, and I think the concern of all hunters would be, you want to take the animal as ethically and humanely as possible. You're going to have to practice with that ammo. Now, okay, it's going to, the California has said you can go to ranges and you can use lead-based ammo at ranges. That's not a problem. I don't know if the ballistics are going to be that similar between the two. And I would only say that the only way to be sure with your particular weapon and how it acts with ammo is to shoot a lot of those rounds. So that's going to add some expense to you, and it's going to add some expense to the hunter. The problem with it being statewide is just, it just doesn't make sense on the grand scale when you are worrying about animals in a smaller area. And what's even a bigger problem too now is that California has also said that it doesn't matter if you're out hunting varmints, coyotes, anything of that nature. So unfortunately, you're going to have to do your varminting with the high-cost ammo as well. So There you go, hunters. If you're planning on hitting California anytime soon, keep that in mind. You do not want to get busted using lead-based ammo in the state. So, hey, California, that's your thing. Have fun with it, and we'll just keep doing our thing, and hopefully we can all work around this little added expense issue. Now, for other folks out there that are shooters, this is something pretty cool out there if you're just a shooter looking to try something different to bring your game up. And this will work for hunters as well, but only for practice, I would say. And that's this. I've recently read that there's been a new advancement in bullet construction whereby the tip of the bullet is actually aluminum. Now, why would you want a bullet with an aluminum tip? Simple as this. The bullet shape is more uniform when you're using this aluminum tip. It is smoother. It is sharper, if you will. It is more consistent in the way that it is shaped from bullet to bullet to bullet. So unlike a lead-based bullet, or perhaps if you're using a 30-30 and you're using some of those poly-tipped bullets to put into the lever action, what this does is it gives a lot more consistency to the shooter. Oh, wow, calls all over the place. I'll get back to that in a minute. Let's hit the phones, man. We just lit up here within the last minute or so, and I want to talk to this guy right now because he's my other half of the fishing duo, Hank the Yank, the fly fisherman extraordinaire. How are you this morning, sir?
Good morning. That was really interesting stuff you were talking about, believe it or not, and I'm not a hunter. You were talking about the getting the lead out. A lot of our streams across the United States where anglers specifically use, whether they're conventional or fly fishing, they use lead weight to get their bait down to the bottom, or in our case we use little split shot to get our flies down to the bottom. And many of the streams that we're fishing now, they've been asked to be lead free. They do not want lead in the stream, and we're using tungsten now, and it's a little more costly, but it turns out that it's supposed to be better for the environment. So guys are doing it, and that is becoming more and more popular around the country. So I thought that was interesting, listening to you talk about what California is doing. And they're obviously always on the front side of these things, whether we agree with some of the stuff they do or we don't, but they are always always on the front side of these environmental issues, whether they're good or bad.
Yeah, and like I said, I do have a little bit of a problem with it when you talk about varminting. It just seems like an added expense for something that doesn't really need the added expense if all you're doing is hunting a creature just to remove it because it's a nuisance.
Right.
I get it if you're processing an animal in the field and you're leaving gut piles, whether it be hogs or deer, elk, whatever. I get that. I understand that. And people can't always be counted on to come back and clean up after themselves. So, I get it. So we'll just have to see how everything plays out.
Yeah, you'll see. Listen, people are still going to hunt. They're going to they'll pay the extra expense. They'll get whatever, if they have to get a box of ammo or 2 boxes of ammo, if they're going to California, they'll deal with it. I suspect it's going to be, it's going to be a much bigger expense for those that live and hunt in California all the time than for the guy that just says, hey, I'm going to be in California, I want to go hunt X or Y.
Right.
They'll bring a box and deal with it. You know what I mean? But anyway.
Well, hey, Henry, I have got about a minute left before I've got to go to break here. What's going on in the fly fishing world real fast?
We're getting ready to stock the streams. It's delayed harvest starts in November, so there'll be the Trout Gods of Atlanta, our wonderful DNR, will be stocking all our streams here in Georgia for delayed harvest, and there are 5 streams. That's all, rather than put and take, it's all catch and release. And those streams will be stocked to the hilt with those fish. The Chattahoochee being one of them, and then a bunch up in North Georgia in the mountains. So that's what's starting there. The striper fishing on Lanier is just starting. They're on herring right now. I heard Max report. We are getting some top order, but it's a little difficult right now. You're still you can catch them on a fly, but for the most part, it's conventional. That fly bite will change over big time once they get off the herring and onto the little itty bitty shad. It becomes much easier for fly riders, which should happen in the next 2 weeks. So we're gearing up for fly fishing right now in in North Georgia. So that's
Henry,
kind of what's
real
going
quick,
on.
how can somebody hook up with you if they want to get out and do a quick guide with you, man?
Well, they can give us a shout. It's 678-513-1934. They can go to www.henrycowanflyfishing.com, and we've probably got about a handful of trips left between now and the end of January.
Honor, courage, and strength of character. These qualities are embodied by the recipients of the Medal of Honor. Now let's recognize this week's Medal of Honor recipient on O'Neill Outside.
Welcome back to O'Neill Outside. This week's Medal of Honor recipient, Private First Class Francis Curry, in the Army in Belgium, December 1944. When the Germans launched a powerful attack with tanks advancing to the 3rd Platoon's position, thereby forcing the withdrawal of this group to a nearby factory, Sergeant Curry found a bazooka in the building and crossed the street to secure rockets, enduring intense fire from German tanks and riflemen who had taken up a position at a house a short distance away. In the face of small arms, machine gun, and artillery fire, he knocked out a tank with one bazooka shot. Moving to another position, he observed 3 Germans in the doorway of an enemy-held house. He killed all 3. He emerged from cover and advanced alone to within 50 yards of the house, intent on wrecking it with rockets. Covered by friendly fire, he stood erect and fired a shot which knocked down half of one wall, scattering the Germans. While in this forward position, he observed 5 Americans who had been pinned down for hours by fire from the house and the 3 German tanks. Realizing that they could not escape until the enemy tank and infantry guns had been silenced, Sergeant Curry crossed the street to a vehicle where he located an armful of anti-tank grenades. These he launched while under heavy enemy fire, driving the tankmen from the vehicles into the house. He then climbed onto a half-track in full view of the Germans and fired a machine gun at the house, pinning the Germans down. Once again changing his position, he manned another machine gun whose crew had been killed, and under his covering fire, the 5 soldiers were able to escape to safety. Deprived of tanks and with heavy infantry casualties, the Germans were forced to withdraw. Through his extensive knowledge of weapons and by his heroic and repeated braving of murderous enemy fire, Sergeant Curry was greatly responsible for inflicting heavy losses in men and material on the enemy, for rescuing 5 comrades, 2 of whom were wounded, and for stemming an attack which threatened to flank his battalion's position. Private Francis Curry, recipient of the Medal of Honor, died October 8th, 2019. Wow. Georgia. Let me tell you what, that makes me feel rather insignificant. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week on O'Neill Outside.
I once asked a mighty hunter, coming home from the field, how he came to possess such mighty hunting and fishing skill. He said, "I'll tell you a secret, son. I learned everything I know from listening to O'Neill Outside on my radio." O'Neill, O'Neill, O'Neill Outside.